Hello and welcome to my review of the iPhone 5. To start off, I'll just show you what comes in the box when you get the phone. Pretty standard box, raised lettering on the side, no silver Apple logo for the first time. Box slides open like it normally does. If you hold it, it just drops down. Inside the box, you get your typical pin to open the SIM tray if you wanted to put in your SIM. Inside here, literature wise, you get Apple stickers, you get something which has about your warranty, and you actually for the first time in a long time get some sort of manual. It's very basic, just explains what each app does, but they just resorted to for a very long time just giving you pages and pages of terms and conditions and garbage like that to read, and actually no manuals, because their belief was that everything should be easy enough, that, you know, it's been designed easy enough for you to use, and trust me, I know that. You also get your electricity plug, and your headphones come in this nifty little thing here. The headphones themselves, the quality is better than what you normally get from the Apple headphones, but I mean, if you put them up against a decent pair of normal headphones, they're still no match for any decent headphones out there. I'm kind of relieved, because this design here I thought would be prone to having earwax collected inside it, because you know everybody's gonna get earwax, and these kind of designs usually you get earwax residue build up inside over time, and then you get chunks which you then need to get a needle or something and pull them out. The silver mesh lining just inside here seems to come out quite far, so it's not as big a problem as I thought it would be. This also doesn't make the clicking noise of the last one. Feels a bit plasticky, a bit more plasticky than last time, but definitely a improvement, even though that's really not saying much. The one last thing you get in the box is the new cable. I can't figure out for the life of me why they've done this. I mean, when I first saw pictures of this online, I thought, great, you know, it's going to be faster, because my iPhone, I had a 32 gig iPhone, which I often synced with my computer with loads of pictures and videos, and I thought, great, you know, the speed is going to make a huge difference and it's going to be a big thing for me. It's the exact same speed. So my concern now is I have to go and spend 25 quid to get it to work with my dock, and I had two extra cables like this, one in my car, so I wouldn't, one in my car and one always carried in my laptop bag, and one at home for charging. Now I have to go out and buy another two of those as well, which is very irritating. You can get a micro USB connector for these. It's just literally a micro USB connector that plugs onto the side of it. So if you have a micro USB cable, you can use that. They're 15 quid, which is absolutely ridiculous. Even this part has been shrunk down a bit. Now, the reason I bought my laptop interview, and yes, that is in and out, best place in LA. Last time I ate there was about 3 years ago. I live in the UK and I still can't stop thinking about it. But anyway, back to the review. The reason I bought this is because this sits a little loose, and this is a brand new MacBook Pro, so there's no reason, there's nothing wrong with the MacBook, because I've tried several devices and they all fit snug, so that does fit a little bit loose. But as I said, big disappointment. Okay, it's a little bit smaller, it's a lot smaller in size, but other than that, really, what else is it? You can plug it in each way, which is great, but to have to buy another two cables and the connector, that's another like 70-80 pounds, which is absolutely ridiculous. So big up yours to Apple for that. Now we're coming to the phone itself. I'd read how incredibly light it was, and even though I was fully expecting it, I was very surprised. It is incredibly light. I like the brushed aluminium finish to it as well. It does look kind of midnight blue to me. I would say it has a tiny bit of a blue tint to it as well, but I think it looks Very, very nice. It's definitely, as you can see, I've used it for just a little bit and the screen is very, very dirty. So they still haven't figured out how to make screens which don't smudge fingerprints all over it. The phone itself looks very nice. I've seen some pictures online with the back. Apparently it's very, very easy to scratch. So if you're going to get one, make sure you don't keep it in your back pocket with your phone, with your keys or coins, because it looks like it's very easy to scratch. Volume up, volume down, you know all this stuff. The speakers, the one problem I had with the previous iPhone 4 and the 4S was anytime I spoke to someone on speakerphone, they always found it a little bit difficult to hear me, but with this I've made quite a few phone calls today. No complaints about it being difficult to hear me, and the sound quality, let me just play a random song, is actually pretty good, and it's a little bit better than what you get with the last iPhone. It's not letting me play a song for some reason, so let me go into it manually. Okay. Yeah, speaker's just a tad better. It's still, you know, something that you'd only use as a last resort, really. But let's get to the phone itself. It is a little bit speedier. You do notice the speed difference between this and the older iPhone 4S, but it's nothing major. I mean, you're talking about 3 seconds loading instead of 6 seconds, or 5 seconds loading for an app. Nothing major. You know, we're not talking minutes turning into seconds. We're talking a couple of seconds, a few seconds turning into a couple of seconds. Let's start off with the main thing that I know everyone has been complaining about, and that is the Maps app. I'd read about how terrible this thing was, and to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting it to be this bad. I mean, the Google Maps app that I had on the iPhone 4S gets my house exactly. This, whenever I find my location and I press the button on the bottom right for it to find my location, it always shows me two streets further down. Another thing as well, for anyone who lives in London, like, you know, Shepherd's Bush is a very well-known area. You don't get the 3D view in Shepherd's Bush. You only get it in Oxford Street and areas like that. Even in such populated areas as Shepherd's Bush, where there's, you know, Westfield, and it's a pretty populated area, no 3D view. No, not as of yet anyway. And I've also seen pictures online of people who've had their house show up with just clouds. You see clouds, you don't actually see the street itself. Let's go ahead and put in Oxford Street just to give you an idea of how it is. Okay, so if we go to building view, as you can see, it's 3D, which looks very, very cool. However, if we go down just a little bit further, it's back to 2D again. I've literally been able to find just a handful of places that are actually in 3D at the moment in the UK. You can get voice directions as well, of course.
Starting route to Oxford Street.
Actually,
head south on Canberra Drive.
It actually says the name of the roads that you're meant to go to. However, I would say the one thing that I was tad disappointed to is with Siri, I like to use the female voice. I choose American as the language, English American, but unfortunately that only seems to change Siri. There doesn't seem to be a way to change the guy's voice. The UK voice, that guy kind of sounds like, you know, creepy uncle that does stuff he shouldn't be doing. But anyway, back to the map itself. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get your location properly. If I put in, for example, there's a KFC down Boscombe Road, and that's in Shepherd's Bush. If I put in Boscombe Road, it finds one Boscombe Road, and it's nowhere near the one that I want to go to. It's SM4. The one I'm looking for is in the W12 area. So that is pretty shitty. And also, if I type in a postcode of someone, so let's type in a postcode of one of my friends. The address that is showing for that postcode is about 15 minutes away from their house. Any other TomTom or GPS device, the old iPhone, any HTC handset I've ever put in a postcode, it shows you very close to where the house is. This is showing me somewhere that's in Hammersmith. The postcode was for a house in Shepherd's Bush. So yes, deserves all the criticism it gets, and it's crap. Now on to the good. Design is great, very fast and speedy. One thing that I was disappointed at is I knew that a lot of apps wouldn't be compatible in terms of using the full screen off the bat, but there's literally only a handful of my apps that will actually use, like as you can see, there is borders at the top, borders at the bottom in the Google app. Pretty much all of my games that I've tried, let's go to Grand Theft Auto 3. I mean, I know these will be fixed, but at the moment, you know, there's borders on the left and right, so you're not actually utilizing the extra space in the screen. Broken Sword is the same. Yep, almost everything that I've tried has been like that. The only apps that haven't been like that are apps like iMovie and Apple's own main applications like iWorks and so forth. So that is a bit disappointing to get the phone and to not be able to use the full screen. Again, I'm sure it's something that will build up over time. It just would have been nice for Apple to give developers a bit of a heads up on it. It's not like your products aren't getting leaked months before they're coming out anyway, so why all the secrecy? Why not just let people work on it, so when the phone comes out we don't feel like we're still waiting for everyone else to catch up until we can use the applications properly. And it is kind of a downer. I mean, most of these games, I don't even want to play them now. I'll wait until they improve it, because having big borders on the side, as you can see with all the apps, apart from Apple's main ones, is pretty bad. The screen itself, I was lucky, no dead pixels or anything like that. Last iPhone 4S I got had a couple of dead pixels in it. Luckily I went to the store and got that. I got this delivered today, which came very late. It came at like 7 o'clock at night, which I was very surprised with. Thought UPS stopped delivering at 5, but anyway, back to the phone itself. I mean, if you've played with a 4 or 4S, there's really not much to say. The speaker quality, as I said, is a lot better than what you're used to with an iPhone 4 in terms of hands-free calling. The headphone jack's been put to the bottom, which I actually find kind of useful, because when I had my old iPhone 4S, I'd keep it in a sock, an iPhone sock, and I'd always have to slide it up if I wanted to touch the home button on it. I think this is a bit more practical. It does feel incredibly light, but at the same time it feels solid. It's a lot more snappier as well than a 4 or a 4S, but I will tell you right off the bat, if I still had my 4S, I would have had a chance to play with this for 4 or 5 hours like I've had to do today, I probably wouldn't upgrade. I don't think, especially with so few apps actually utilizing the extra screen size. I just don't think that at the moment there's justification to, you'll probably lose 200 quid if you sell your iPhone 4S offline and then pay the money to upgrade to this, and I just don't think at the moment it's worth it. I am pleased with iOS 6. It does have a lot of nice new little features. One thing that I don't like is you still can't, for example, put that there, or like you can't move. Apps will always snap back to where they were. That's the one thing that I'd miss about having a jailbreak on the phone, was all that little stuff. I never jailbroke my iPhone to play downloaded games that I didn't pay for. I just loved stuff. There was certain stuff on it, like there was one where you could pull the screen down and it'd give you all your emails, everything that you could open and reply to there. You can reply to text from your lock screen. Unfortunately, Apple still haven't included any of those features, so that's it's a bit of a disappointment. But I mean, even if you look at WhatsApp, it's missing the top and bottom. That's my only real complaint. I'm very happy with the phone, even though it probably doesn't sound like it. And I'm sure when all the apps start utilizing the extra screen space, it's going to be, a much better user experience as well in terms of visually. But the one last thing I would like to try, I'm in the UK as I said, let's turn off Wi-Fi and do a speed test. I've got full bars, I'm with 3 at the moment. So if we go to utilities, now 3 claim that they've already upgraded the service a little bit, so you get 4 times faster than 3G. That's what they told me on the phone literally 10 minutes ago. You get 4 times faster than 3G when you use the iPhone 5. So let's go ahead and do a speed test. Ping was at 54 milliseconds. Yeah, download speed at the moment in the UK, 3G. I'm not too far from the centre of London, and that is pretty interesting. I'm not sure how accurate this thing's going to be. It's 0.49 download speed. You know, so 3's claims are crap. I'm sure 4G is not too far away. There's quite a few companies in the UK. Apparently, O2 and T-Mobile and Orange have had their request to have 4G quicker than what they were meant to get it has been approved, so it'll come rolling out fairly quick. But at the moment, it's not great. I mean, as you can see, I'm getting between 0.3 and 0.5 meg download speed. So I think I will definitely be sticking to my usual look for the Wi-Fi. You can tether with 3, however. Unfortunately, it's an extra £15 a month, and at this speed it's ridiculous, it's pointless. Once they get 4G out, it'll definitely be something that I'm sure a lot of us will be considering. Final thing, if we take a look at some of the new settings, Do Not Disturb, which I find is fantastic. When you turn it on, you can set Do Not Disturb to you can schedule it for it to automatically come on at a certain time and go off at a certain time. So if you know your bedtime is always the same, you could do that. You can make it to allow calls from favourites, everyone, no one, or certain contacts. So only if that person calls you will your phone ring. So if other people are calling you, it'll ring, but you won't hear anything, and it won't show up on, it won't flash on the screen or anything. The last option I have, this is a pretty good option as well. It says the same person calls you a second time within 3 minutes, then the silent will be turned off. So if it's an emergency and someone's trying to get through to you, if they're calling you over and over again, it will actually ring, which is pretty good. You got privacy, which seems to just give you the same stuff as before, which tells you what applications are trying to access your phone book and whatnot. iTunes U, medical, stuff for school. Sorry, email hasn't changed. Passbook, which is the other new thing, get your boarding card, tickets, store cards, coupons. I've been to the App Store in the UK. There's really not much on there for us. I mean, there's literally 4 things we can use in the UK. There's iHotel, United Airlines, Lufthansa, and American Airlines. You can't use cinema tickets or anything like that, or pay at Starbucks or anything like that in the UK yet. So it's kind of useless for me right now anyway, because I'm not travelling with any of these 3 airlines or staying at a hotel anytime soon. I do like the new look of the App Store. I do think it's very nice looking, especially when you download something. You can see it downloading at the bar. You can see a download bar, and you can continue browsing on the same page just by scrolling. Like a download bar will appear here, and you can continue scrolling along, which is very nice. When you update as well, you can see your updates. You can see what's new underneath by just clicking the plus without having to go into each one of the apps one by one. Camera still kind of struggles in low light. I mean, the lighting isn't great in here, but like, let me take a picture of the box, and if we zoom in, I mean, that's not fantastic. It's doable, but outdoors it's a lot better. Of course, you have the new panorama view as well. Let's try that again with HDR turned on. No, not much better. And there was a feature in the old iPhone yeah, EAF lock option is still there, which is good. But yeah, I mean, in general, great phone, speedy, feels solid, very light, incredibly light. I love the new look of it. I have seen that apparently it's meant to be very easy to scratch, so just be very careful with it. The screen is meant to be very scratch resistant. A huge thing that I would like to add is with the screen. I've seen people take keys to it on videos on YouTube, and it looks like it's a solid screen. But the main thing is, previously, with the iPhone 4, 4S, if anyone who's cracked the screen knows you need to pay 120, 30 pounds to get the whole phone replaced. Now, apparently you can replace the screen on it. So if you crack the screen, you go to the Apple Store, just when they've made the screen almost indestructible, it seems, they'll replace the screen for you without having to replace the whole phone. One thing that I did find amusing though, was when Apple done the demonstration video, when they were showing how the phone was put together, they said there was something like 100 or 80, some ridiculous amount of possible cases that would fit onto the back. The computer would scan the positioning of the camera and the flash and see exactly which one of the 80 or so backs would be the best one to fit onto that specific iPhone 5. So I actually called the Apple Store and said, what happens if you scratch the back of this and you want the back replaced? Okay, they can replace the glass now. But now they've just moved the problem to the other side of the phone. What happens? Well, obviously, it's much better to have the glass replaced, to have a smashed screen replaced than a back. But I said to them, well, what happens now if you need the back replaced? Are you gonna, how are you gonna find the best out of 80 backs that will fit that specific phone? Because now you're measuring it in smaller than millimeters to get the exact fit for the phone. So I'm guessing if you smash the back, or if you somehow manage to damage the back or the glass up here, then you're probably looking at a new phone. But obviously better to have the option to replace the front than the back, I guess. Overall though, may not sound like it, but I am very pleased with the phone, and I'm sure I'll be even happier when 90% of my apps stop using the old size of the iPhone 4S screen and start using the full screen, because at the moment, I mean, what's the point of the extra space when hardly any of my apps use it? Again, comes down to Apple should have maybe allowed developers a little more time before they release the phone, or given them a heads up on what size to make their apps. But at the moment, the extra size of the screen is pretty useless. So again, simple enough. I would say if you've got a 4S, it's probably, unless you have to have the latest Apple gadget, it's probably not worth the extra money that you'll have to pay, because you'll obviously lose £100 or £200 of selling your 4S, then you'll have to put that back on top to get this. So I would say it's probably not worth it. You'll have to buy, if you've got spare cables like me, you'll have to chuck them in the bin, buy new ones. If you've got a dock, you need to chuck them in the, you need to chuck the cables in the bin, and you need to buy a dock adapter, which is another 25 quid for each individual one. So it doesn't have enough perks for me to warrant an update from an old iPhone, but it definitely has enough perks for me that if you're, if you don't have a 4S, if you don't have an iPhone 4, if you've been waiting, if you have an iPhone 4, perhaps you've been waiting, you ignored the 4S because you're waiting for a brand new one. It's, go down to an Apple store and take a look at one on display and see if it's worth the extra money. If it's worth the extra couple of £100 to you to upgrade, go ahead. If maybe you're due an upgrade with your contract operator, I'm sure they're going to give you a much worse deal when it comes to price plans. But overall, definitely the best iPhone yet. I'm sure Apple say that about all of them, but I actually do think it's one of the best smartphones on the market. I'm sure there's Android fans who are going to love the S3 and who are going to stick to it no matter what, and that's fair enough. I can see their point of view as well, but unbelievably light. If you walk past an Apple store, make sure you go in and you just take a look at this thing. Yeah, that's the end of my review. Any questions, let me know. Cheers. Just one quick last thing that I forgot to add. With my 4S, if I use it constantly for 3-4 hours, I would see that the battery life did go down pretty dramatically on it. It would go down to below 50%. This is doing a tiny bit better, not a whole deal. You know, it's not, you know, when they haven't doubled the battery life or anything, but it's doing a tiny bit better. I'd say it's about 15% better, it seems, 15-20% better than what I was getting out of my 4S. But I just thought I'd quickly throw that in there, and that's it.